Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time it is a review of the 2019 action spy thriller Anna. Now, Anna is directed by Luc Besson, who is well known for films like Nikita, The Fifth Element, and so on and so forth. And at this point in his career, he is really starting to just recycle his own films, and this is another example of that. This is essentially another version of Nikita with a different lead, uh, and a few differences in terms of the overall plot or the location of everything, and but essentially the same ingredients. But despite that, I still liked the film. I didn't love the movie. I thought the film was at best above average, and it was a little bit disappointing in the fact that it could have been so much more. But overall, I did like the film. I know this is a movie that a lot of critics were not really that fond of, and I get their reasoning. I definitely do. But I don't think it's as bad as they say it is, and I also think it could have been a lot worse. But it ultimately was a above average film for me. It was a time waster. It's a film that if I saw it for cheap, I'd probably pick it up because there was enough to this film that I liked that it was admittedly a tolerable and fairly satisfying film to watch. Luc Besson's direction, I think, is great. I don't think it's really an issue. He's a veteran, and he knows his way around a camera. He knows how to shoot action sequences like the best of them. He knows how to shoot locations and really make them pop. He definitely knows how to shoot his women and make them look just absolutely stunning. And this film is no exception with how he shoots all of the gorgeous models in this film, including the lead, Sasha Luss. The screenplay, though, by Luc Besson, I think it would have been nice to have seen a different writer or another writer to lend their mindset or their approach to this film, because, like I said, it just feels like Nikita, but with a different dressing. It's like the same salad and the same ingredients, but this time around, instead of having ranch dressing, he's using honey Dijon. He's using Thousand Island or something. It's like he's just tweaking something up just a little bit, but it's still ultimately the same story in the same film. The film is headed up by Sasha Luss as Anna. And for a model turned actress, I thought she did an admirable job. There were some moments where she was a little bit, let's just say, definitely seemed like she was not ready for prime time. But there were a lot of moments though where I thought she did a really great job with her performance in terms of emotion, in terms of being a believable badass. Is it realistic with its choreography and the stuff that the film has her do? No. But I don't give a shit. I honestly am tired of criticisms like this. Oh, this movie isn't good because you have a supermodel who's kicking all kinds of ass and doing all these high-flying, acrobatic, gymnastic, choreographed fight moves and gunplay. It's not realistic, so the movie sucks because there's no way that a woman could do any of this. It's like it's ridiculous. And honestly, it is a tad bit sexist. I'm not saying it's entirely sexist, but it's a tad bit sexist because I don't really normally see the same criticisms applied to a Mission Impossible movie or other movies starring a man. You don't see a lot of people saying, oh, that's unrealistic. There's no way that Tom Cruise could do that. He's too short and he doesn't have enough strength to do any of that. See kind of what I'm getting at? I don't really see the problem. A hot woman in leather shooting up a bunch of bad guys and kicking ass. Like, why is this a problem? Like, why? Because it's not realistic? Who gives a shit? The fact that it isn't realistic is what makes the sequence so adrenaline inducing and fun to watch. And the sequence I'm talking about is one of the best action sequences I've seen in a film this year. I mean, not on the same level as the action. Actually, I would say, I honestly think it is on the same level as some of the action sequences I've seen in John Wick 3. That's why it's so disappointing that there aren't more sequences like the one standout action sequence in this movie in this film. And the action sequence I'm talking about is like around 30 minutes. Anna's first test when she has to go take out this guy in a I think it's like a Russian bar or something, or restaurant, and it's such a killer sequence. It is the epitome of badass. I loved it. It's too bad that other than a little bit of some fisticuffs and a shootout near the end and a montage, that's really all that we get when it comes to action. Although there's also a pretty solid car chase at one point in the movie as well. But yeah, the lead actress surprised the hell out of me. I thought Sasha Luss. I thought she was not only a lavish looking lass, but she delivered a performance that kicked a good amount of ass in a various in a different amount of ways, in a myriad of different ways in terms of her performance. Helen Mirren was a lot of fun as Olga. Luke Evans was even good as Alex. Like, Luke Evans is not a very good actor. A lot of the time he's just a block of wood, but here I thought he was fine. I think it helped too that he wasn't a lead. He was in a supporting role, so I definitely think that was a benefit to him. Cillian Murphy, I thought, also did a good job with his performance as Leonard Miller, and the rest of the cast was good too. Lara Bova as Maud, and so on and so forth. But it's not a film that, like I said, it doesn't rise above average, and one of the biggest reasons for that is the fact that it doesn't have enough action. I personally feel it should have had at least two more big action sequences with Anna doing all kinds of fight choreography and gunplay. The way the story is structured is jarring because there's a lot of different time jumps. So it'll be in current day and then it'll go back into the past, or it'll go into the future, and it's definitely a little bit jarring. But ultimately, that is one of the things that made the film more unique. So at first I was like, this is obnoxious, I don't like this. But as the film went on further, I started to actually like and appreciate the fact that it was doing the time jumps, because it broke up the monotony of this type of story and this type of plot. So, yeah, I actually feel that helped in the long run. So it's not as much of a problem to me as I initially thought it was. But there are moments in this film that also are not very interesting or engaging. There's a whole love story going on between Sasha Luss's character Anna and some supermodel that she's staying with in Paris, and the two of them, it's this love story, but it never goes anywhere. They don't have any chemistry, and she ultimately leaves this girl by the end of the movie, and also leaves the whole story between the two of them completely unresolved. Unless the double at the end is supposed to be her, but that's not really explained. So yeah, it just felt like a lot of padding, to be honest. Just an excuse for Luc Besson to throw in a lesbian relationship into the movie. And yes, it's not very accurate in terms of historical accuracy. I don't really give a shit about that. I mean, I could care less. I know there's a lot of people who just have railed on this film for that, but that really doesn't bother me at all. Um, and the score by Eric Serra, it's completely forgettable. It doesn't really add that much to any of the sequences or the overall film. It's just one of those milk toast, bland scores that sounds like a million other scores in a spy thriller. It's incredibly generic. Uh, the cinematography by Thierry Arbogast and Julian Ray, it's it's fine. It's definitely serviceable. There are certain sequences where the editing could be, let's just say, tightened up a bit. I think that would have helped the film a little bit, but I also think that's really the story, that's the script that's to blame, not really the editing. Um, because there are moments in this where the story is just kind of all over the place because, and it's by design, because of the whole unorthodox way that they frame things in the overall story, but that just creates moments where you have these dead patches where you're just not as invested in the story as much, and some more action sequences, some more excitement on the screen definitely would have improved those dead spots in this movie. So I'm not surprised the film didn't do well. It essentially was a flop. It was cost $30 million to make. It only made like $30.9 million. So yeah, it didn't do very well. But I think it's worth a watch if you like Luc Besson, you like his work. If you thought the trailer looked like it might have some fun bits of action in it, I definitely feel that's the case, especially the major standout action sequence that happens about 30 minutes into the movie. It runs out of steam at points, but it kind of picks up a little bit again uh, by the climax. Although, to be honest, the climax is another thing that really could have been improved upon. It's just it's just Sasha Luss's character Anna just sitting at a park bench talking to two of the main characters, exchanging some contraband, and then that's really all that it is. And then there's some shenanigans that are involved with her getting her freedom, because that's the main crux and center of this story is Anna getting her freedom. And okay, all right, that's fine, but that's not really compelling or interesting enough to be the main focal point of a story. I definitely feel the film could have benefited as well from an antagonist. There really isn't one. It seems like it might be. It ultimately kind of is interpreted as if both the KGB and the CIA are the antagonists, but then the KGB ultimately is the one that gives her freedom. So it's one of those things where it's like they weren't really. So it would have helped a lot as well to have had like a villain, like someone that she can go after and have some sort of tie to. They tried to do that with the head of the KGB, who was her last hit, but it wasn't really that effective. But yeah, I mean, if you find it for cheap somewhere, definitely worth picking up. If you if it's on a streaming service, it's worth checking out uh, on a streaming service like Netflix or Amazon or something. I wouldn't pay full price for this. I'm glad I didn't actually go to see this in a theater, because I don't think this is really a movie that really would have benefited or really would have been one of those movies that would have been worth seeing in a theater. But still, I still like the film for what it was. I personally feel it could have been more, needed more action, more focus with the overall story, an antagonist of some sort. But despite all the things that were missing, the stuff that was there was satisfying enough. Um, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Sasha Luss does next, because I thought she was not only a striking beauty in this, but delivered a pretty good performance, all things considered, for a model turned actress. A lot of the time, when you have a model turned actress, they're garbage. They're wooden. as hell, that can't emote in any sort of believable way. They don't really have much of a personality, and I didn't really feel that way about her. So I really am curious to see what happens with her and her career going forward. So anyway, yeah, I don't know what else to say about Anna, except if I were to rate it out of 5 stars, I would give the film 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I think it's an above average action spy thriller. And as always, thank you for watching, thank you for your cooperation, and have a nice day.